Hello and welcome back to the channel, D-MANTV. Myself, D-Man. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Appreciate it. Help the channel grow on that. Yeah. So, Newcastle United season gets underway today. Later today, 12:30 kickoff against Aston Villa. It's a big one, which we'll get to. But yeah, I want to touch on the upcoming season for us. Want to know your thoughts in the comments. You know, how you think we'll do. What's your expectations? You know, what would you like to prioritize? You know, we're in a lot of competition. Four competitions: the league, 2 domestic cups, and the Champions League. More importantly, back in the Champions League after a couple of years. It's going to be a grueling season. Question is, are we ready for it? You know, we've had a lot of disruption, controversy in the postseason. It looks like we're slowly getting back on track, but you know the work is not done yet, and the real work starts now in terms of what we perform on the pitch, what we put out. So yeah, expectations. Well, we finished 5th last season, qualified for the Champions League. I'm not sure. I'm guessing that top 5 will probably get Champions League next season, but I'd like to see us improve on that if we can. I'd love to see us finish in the top 4. Whether or not we're equipped to do that just yet, I'm going to go on the basis that we get Visser over the line and either Isak stays and plays or we get an adequate replacement. So we have 2 strikers plus the signings that we've made. That if that's the case, I think we will have a decent squad, capable enough to compete on all fronts. But yeah, I'd like to see an improvement in the league. 5th, I'd be okay with, but anything below that, I think, you know, is a step back. I'd like to see us qualify for the Champions League again, and you know, just get closer to the big guns, shall we say? In terms of the domestic cups, yes, it would be nice to retain the EFL Cup, but it's not a priority. I think that's the least on low down on our list of priorities in terms of competitions. A good run in FA Cup, yeah, would like to see that, but I'd like to see us, you know, Eddie Howe, experiment with the team in those cups, especially in the early rounds. You know, give the youth a chance. You know, the fringe players, see what they can do. You know, if they can push the first team, make a push for that. But yeah, Champions League now. I need us to perform a lot better than we did last time. It was great being in there. You know, we treated it like, you know, we were happy to be there. Obviously, we started well with the PSG game, but we only won 1 game in the group phase. Yes, we've got more games now. We are still in pot 4, so we're going to have some tough ties. But I'd like us to see us at least win more than 1 game, but ideally qualify from the group stage. If you qualify from the group stage, you never know. We can do it. Aston Villa get to the quarterfinals they got to. You never know. But more nights like the home tie against PSG, you know, are very welcome. But it's going to be difficult as well because obviously managing the 2 games, the Wednesday night, Tuesday, Wednesday football, and then the weekend. Let's see if we've learned from our mistakes and if Eddie Howe trusts the squad now, because there's no excuse now. We bolstered the squad with quality. Let's see what we can do there. So yeah, but I think it's a big season for Eddie Howe. You know, he's come under a lot of pressure. Some he's brought on himself, I'd say, but you know, he's had to juggle a lot of plates this postseason, getting involved in negotiations and transfers, and you know, the Isak saga, as well as trying to, you know, embed the new players and take care of training, pre-season stuff like that. But it's a big season for him. Again, back in the Champions League, want to see has he learned from his mistakes, and I want to see an evolution in the style of play as well. You know, everyone knows how Newcastle play. When we're on our game, there's no one better at what we do. You know, the high press, the intensity, transition football. You know, I mean, patterns of play. You know, small patterns of play and using the wide players effectively. What I'd like to see is a bit more possession based, a bit more control of games, because we've never seen that we're in control of games. Whether it's in and out of possession, we seem to be in control of games. So I'd like to see that change a little bit, and I think we've bought enough quality to do that in terms of Ramsdale. We offer something different to Pope, Malik Chow, you know, and Ramsey alike. I think they can bring something different to the style of play, and I'd like to see us, you know, just controlled games a bit more possession, you know, especially in when it comes to Europe, because you know that swashbuckling style is not going to work in every game. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see us evolve in that respect, and it's going to be interesting to see how the new players how they perform. And how soon they'll get their starts, because we know Eddie Howe likes to, you know, take time to embed players, but with the likes of Elanga and Ramsdale, who've got Premier League experience, there's no real excuses there. So it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, with Elanga, you know, he's been seen to be an upgrade on Murphy. Yeah, his goal is GA. How's that gonna do? It'd be interesting to see if he can get match what he did last season or improve on that. You know, he's working under the right coach to improve, so expecting improvement in his output. And yeah, again, he brings something different to Murphy as well. Murphy likes to hug the touchline. Elanga can cut inside, allow Tino to bomb forward. Some say it could be a breakout season for Tino as well, to solidify himself as one of the best right backs in the league. And yeah, and also Malik Chow, you know, we already touched about what he brings to the team, the youth, the pace, you know, defending on the front foot. Be interested to see how he performs with Botman and again, how soon he gets his starts as well, and how he adapts to the Premier League, because it's a bit different to Serie A, obviously, for obvious reasons. But yeah, it's going to be, and more importantly, what's going on with this guy? Yeah, will he or won't he? Yeah, we've talked enough about, you know, his feelings. He wants to join Liverpool, going on strike, whatever, but he's still a Newcastle United player. Yeah, and we hold all the cards. So if you don't want to let him go, you know, he's got to suck it up and play. And to what level, that remains to be seen. So, and again, if he goes, who comes in? There's links to Gonzalo Ramos now. I'm not sure how serious they are. But yeah, more importantly, we need to hit the ground running. You know, we kick off against Aston Villa. Not a favourite place to visit. It's a funny one, that game, because, you know, it tends to go in favour of the home team convincingly every time. I know we won 2-1. Was it 2-1 or whatever it is a few seasons ago? But we saw what happened last season when we were pulled apart by the likes of Watkins and their pace and movement we couldn't deal with. So it'd be interesting to see how Eddie Howe's reacted. What has he learned from that? Does he play a back three centre backs? Does Malik Chow come in to deal with Watkins? Be interesting. I want to know your predictions for that one. I'm actually predicting a 1-1. Due to the fact that we have no striker, so we know Gordon's going to play that central role. And let's be honest, he works hard, but it's not very effective. So we're going to need goals from probably set piece or from the wide players or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be very tough, and we've got a fairly tough start to the season as well, because we're home to Liverpool next, which is billed as a grudge match, and then we're away to Leeds. Promoted team, you know, they tend to be up for it on their first few home games, you know, and Leeds, Ellen Road is never an easy place to visit. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm actually predicting, I'm being positive. Like I said, hypothetically, we get Bristol over the line, another striker, ideally another midfielder, but I think that may be asking too much. But I'm going to predict that we finish 5th. Yeah. And, you know, a few people have said, you know, we can finish anything between 5th and 12th. We're not finishing bottom half of the table. We're not. But I think we've got the quality to finish 5th. It's going to be tough with Europe, but I'm going to say 5th in the league. You know, the last 16 of the Champions League, and a decent run in the FA Cup. The League Cup, you know, that can wait. But let me know your thoughts. Where you think we're going to finish? Would you like to see us, you know, would you prefer us to finish low in the league and progress further in the Champions League due to the money involved? You know, would you prefer prioritize retaining the League Cup or even getting the FA Cup over the league? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and that. But yeah, thank you for listening. And I'll see you next time. Peace.